The end goal of every content is to connect and resonate with the intended audience for that content. This was the subject of my previous video, where we looked at how such a connection that was built in the narrative of Naruto was maintained till the end. If you haven't seen it, make sure you check it out. In this video, we are going a step further and I will be referencing Matt Reeves' take in the Batman franchise in his The Batman and Max the Truth. So spoiler alert. When The Batman hit the screens, I particularly was not excited with what I saw. I guess the departure from the high-tech super image of The Batman that I saw left me skeptical. I just didn't want to get disappointed. And to make matters worse, Robert Pattinson was cast as Bruce Wayne. Batman. Robert. Batman. And in my mind, I was like, what are they trying to do? Guys, this kept me from not watching the film for, I would think, 2 years. Yeah, 2 years, though I had access to watch the film. Well, finally, out of boredom one time, I decided to watch it. And I was surprised. It exceeded my expectation and truly lived up to the hype and the awards it was getting all around. Then I was left thinking, why did the film turn out so good? Not like boom boom good like a blockbuster, but it was just satisfying. It was just so right. Why did it turn out so good with the absence of all the usual Batman stuff and style that we are all accustomed to? I discovered upon reflection that, among other reasons, this version of the Batman story stood out because it presented Batman, the character, in a very relatable way. Unlike most of its previous iterations, this Batman was more humanized in a manner that the audience, we, could connect with it. Cause give or take, we as an audience, we can hardly say that we know Batman or Bruce Wayne as a person. And most of the times that we see Bruce Wayne in other kinds of the stories, it's like just very minimal time. Most of the time we see him as Batman, and very few of the times we see Bruce Wayne. So in both scenarios, we are not getting to the person. We are not getting or relating to, Batman like that. I mean, how many people do we personally know of in our life, in our circles, that go about in flamboyant wheels, buying banks, all these things? The people who form the base audience for this narrative don't know such kinds of people. They hardly would have, a reference point of such a lifestyle in their circles. And so that image of Bruce Wayne, that image of, the Batman becomes somehow a bit distant from them. But in this version and in this take of the Batman, they closed that gap and made him more relatable. They humanized the Batman character they did it in other ways, but I realized in two main ways. First, the superficial of the Batman character was stripped away. In this Batman, he was stripped of every technological armory that, the Batman character usually clads himself with. He literally did this entire movie with very little or no technology at all. There was no cool gadgets, no cool capes, no smoke bombs, no bat cycle. The Batmobile did make it though, which I like the design and I like that, the monstrous, I like it. And when it did make it into the scene, you could tell the little screen time that it had. It was as though they were trying to say that the focus is not on all those stuff. It is about him. The focus was pointing to him, the person, the personality, understanding and getting to know him. And even as outside the outskirts of the Batman character, when we come down to the Bruce Wayne character in this film, you'll find out that he didn't go about riding a Vision Mercedes Maybach, or an AMG to show that he was, a billionaire. He wasn't buying banks and all those stuff. Those, far reaching, You don't have to go that far to state that he was a billionaire. Anyway, all those elements that kept audience, the general majority of audience, away from relating to the character, those things were taken away. In addition to these, they also emphasized on his humanity. The film constantly placed Batman in situations that brought his humanity to bear. In my opinion, this Batman has been the most vulnerable Batman I've ever seen on the screen. He was not in control as the Batman image we know of. He was uncertain in most cases, challenged to the T, clearly being played at all times. At a point, it actually felt like he was being haunted. You hardly would ever catch Batman with any emotional expressions, but in this take, you could see his fears, you could see his pain, you could feel that rage in him, and all this that were introduced broke away that flawless image that we have of this secret super guy who had it all figured out. He was made more human than a superhero, and all that was to give room for us as an audience to have empathy with the character and then to his story. We now have a window to now relate and connect with him as a fellow human being than quote unquote some fortunate kid who had a ton of fortune bequeathed to him and he decided to buy cool gadgets and fly around Gotham beating bad guys. You get it? Now the story becomes personal. The story becomes more relatable. That it is actually a guy having some past traumas, family problems and all that, but he was able to rise up from that and make sense, make meaning out of his life and march on, move forward and stand up for something good for others to benefit off from. And that is the whole point of what I want to share with us, that we are able to present our content in a way that breaks certain barriers and connect to the people we are targeting. To think that this just happened in the film, or I'm just pulling these things together to share with you, I later found out that the director, Reeves, said,
we wanted him to feel the pain because this iteration of Batman, he takes as much punishment as he deals out. And there was something in that seemed like it was sort of a perfect version of the year 2 Batman, that he's still figuring all this out and he's flying by the seat of his pants and he's risking himself in ways that make no sense whatsoever. He's not in control. And there's a kind of vicarious thrill to make the audience feel like, hey, if I had what he had, maybe I could be Batman. And then you look at it, you're like, oh, that would hurt.
Exactly the point I'm making. He actually highlights how that he wanted the audience to come to a participatory role with the Batman, to actually walk in his shoes and experience the story in their own shoes. And that is something that I can say that most of the previous versions of the Batman really, like, they were cool in their sets, in their own stuff. But in this particular, subject matter, I don't think they hit it, bringing the audience on board to relate, walk in the shoes of the character, to actually, reflect on themselves. You get it? In other films, you would watch and you'd be like, oh, that happened to Batman, and could actually care less to think that it could be you or it could happen to you. That level of empathy that is introduced to the point where we watch and we are feeling like, oh, okay, it is, it could be me. You just get so hooked in it, is what I'm driving home at. All these elements were designed to help the audience connect with the character at a deeper and a personal level. This is the essence of all the activities that are being undertaken in building brands, brand images, and whatnot. It's basically crafting narratives and crafting images that resonate to a specific group of people, which we may call markets or target audience, or as Chris Doe would call, tribes. For instance, Nike doesn't sell stuff by selling. Their Just Do It campaigns aren't about the shoes, it's about the mindset of overcoming obstacles, pushing beyond limits, determination, perseverance, all those things. And guess what? Those who resonate with those values, with that message, the go-getters, the people who want to be known for making stuff happen, would begin to associate with Nike for that. And a significant number of them happen to be athletes, people who value perseverance and pushing beyond the limits. Similarly, Apple doesn't sell tech products. Apple doesn't sell. Rather, they sell a vision of innovation, leadership, creativity, simplicity, class, challenging the status quo, thinking different, thinking out of the box. That's what the marketing efforts of Apple emphasizes. It's more on the message than the product. And what's the results? Those who see themselves as forward thinkers, innovators, the first to ever do it, the challengers of the status quo, people of class, they come trooping in. And of course, not all Apple users are in on Apple sake of that. Some be just adding to the numbers. But the true audience of Apple have this in common. For them, it's not necessarily about the product, it's about Apple's message that resonates with them. And if they have to pay more to maintain their association with that message or story that Apple preaches, they would. And that becomes the basis for their die-hard loyalty with the Apple brand. We can see this also in movies. For example, the Spider-Verse trilogy with the message anyone can wear the masks. With that message, they are reaching down to the common floor member, quote unquote, and bringing them on board the narrative. It's no longer about, Peter Parker, the guy who got lucky to be bitten by a radioactive spider. The message now is, if a normal random kid as Miles Morales could come to that place of accepting that level of responsibility to make a difference in the world, you too can. We can make reference to the podcast wave that is booming now. Like, podcast is now becoming the new content creation trend, and that would be partly because that is where people are getting vulnerable. That is where our favorite people, the people we follow and all, are becoming more relatable. That is where they are sharing their challenges, their setbacks, their personal experiences, all that. Transparency is the word. If we also look at corporations now are factoring in CSRs as a major part of their operations. A number of them are now bent on the inclusion of SDG goals, green issues, initiatives, and the likes in their business model. And what is the end goal? To position themselves in situations that showcases their humanity, that showcases their relatability in the context that their stakeholders, aka their audience, best relates with. So, rather than merely putting your products, your content, and your stuff out there with the price tag, consider sharing your story. Consider sharing the story behind that product as well. It could be anything that exhibits your values, what you are standing for, what you want to stand for. It could be sharing the process of what you are doing, how you are doing it, the challenges doing it. Highlight some customer experiences, both the negative and the positive, and how we handled them, how we went about them. The point is being true or real with your audience. People connect with authenticity. People best relate with real people. Alright guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know if you agree with this concept of humanizing content, and let me know if it's relevant in your part of the world. Don't forget to also subscribe and hit the notification button. Share this video with your friends, and I'll see you in the next one.